I don't think you should be concerned about AI and robots replacing humanity, but what you should be concerned about are the people making AI and robots that will imbue their ethical and moral frameworks into these tools. And that is a huge concern. Specifically, what made me make this video is the discovery Sam Altman has a child via surrogacy with his husband, which I find repulsive. And I think that this practice should be illegal, both the marriage of these two men as well as the ability for them to get a woman to carry one of their genetic codes and then artificially inseminate her so that way she can produce a child for them. These designer babies need to stop. It is immoral. And that is what brings me to the topic today. And that is the moral architect, Sam Altman's AI vision, and why you should be concerned. Because his personal choices just aren't personal anymore. They are shaping the world in which we are entering into and how AI and robots will react with society. And so, continuing on here, the real issue, like I've already mentioned, isn't the AI itself, it's the values behind it. Because AI is a tool that'll simply mirror what humanity teaches it. And quite frankly, people like you and I have such a little role in creating the ethical framework in which the AI will work within. It won't be able to define its own. It won't be able to create its own moral code. It is amoral because it is a tool. With that, we find that Sam Altman's views on family, gender, religion are at conflict with most people's views. Just look at his lifestyle. Most people, regardless if you approve of it, do not operate in that way nor see the world in the same way he does. You may then say, Luis, a lot of people disagree with a lot of people. What's your point? The point is, humanity has never done anything like this in the past. And we are opening up Pandora's box, if you will, to a bunch of unknown risk that I think will be detrimental to society at large. Now, the bigger thing here too is that we get very little say. If you attempt to interact with ChatGPT and ask it certain questions that you may find fairly innocuous, or you are genuinely curious about maybe a controversial subject, it may produce a result for you saying, hey, we can't do that, it's against our policy. It violates our rights. Yet, they're stealing copyrighted content from the New York Times, Universal, Disney, other places as well, as many other AI companies are. They're facing million, if not billion-dollar lawsuits. Yet, you ask a simple question, you get rejected an answer, and why is that? Because they are shaping the worldview of the devices in which we are using. These machines are going to increasingly affect society. Right now, it seems as much has not changed. You go out, you walk in the streets, maybe people will talk about AI, maybe you'll encounter somebody at the bar or while you're out doing something who is using AI to do something cool or fun like ChatGPT, making poems or whatever. But overall, it really hasn't drastically changed the overwhelming majority of people's lives. This isn't to say it won't have an effect. I actually think it's going to have a great effect over time. And that is why I am making this video, to express my concerns with AI and the people who are creating it. And I believe that this all starts with us having these hard conversations, because we need to really define what our, especially in the nation that we live in, I'm not so much concerned about the world at large. I'm more concerned about where I live, the nation in which I reside, and how we approach the situation. And it begins with really refining and hashing out our moral views, our ethical views. Where do we ground ourselves? If we go with the view of somebody like Sam Altman, his grounding is obviously in chaos because it is out of order with nature and nature. Yet, he is at the forefront of creating these guardrails for these machines. Think of it like this. Education today, especially in public schools, a lot of people are concerned about what is being taught to their children, especially when we come into months like June. I know, for example, I can't take my kids to the library anywhere around us. I've even reached out to everybody in the library. I've reached out to all of our city council members. They simply ignore me. Or they give me a very polished response as to how they do so because they want to include everyone, which is total nonsense. It's illogical. You can never include everyone. There's going to be people who are excluded. My family is excluded from who they are trying to target because I do not want my children to be fed that garbage. Now, bringing this back to AI, the people who are creating the ethical frameworks for these systems actually are aligned with the things that my family are opposed to. And I'm sure many of you feel the same way. And so it is on us to really begin to either do a couple things. One, we figure out a way to either invest or begin to develop our own systems, our own localized systems with AIs and robots that will have the ethical guardrails and frameworks that align with our worldview. Another way is to legislate and add regulations against these ethical guardrails and frameworks that are being imposed by people of a total fringe radical worldview. And I guess a third way you could potentially go against this situation is by somehow managing to climb the ranks of power inside of these big organizations and begin to turn the ship the other direction. They're all viable options. Now it's just a matter of which one is best for you. I'm not here to prescribe anything for anyone. These are just suggestions in which I think are valid and could really help prevent these kind of things being imparted in a deeper way in society. Now, the other thing that I would add is that his worldview is extremely posthuman. And if you're not aware of what the posthuman philosophy is, it's even more absurd than transhumanism. Transhumanism is the transcendence of humans by integrating them with machines. Posthuman is the complete annihilation of humanity as we know it, creating a new species of human. What is being done through his surrogacy, through his AI, through his relationship, is enforcing and building the foundation for these new radical worldviews to be developed. I don't think that this is right. I think that this is incredibly wrong in that we should be speaking out against it and not allowing it to happen. And I think that we've covered a lot of the risk here, right? There's a big moral risk. The culture is changing. It's ever changing. Culture pretty much always changes with the exception of the worldview in which it's built upon. Usually that remains stable and then everything else around it is shifted and changes because we see that Christianity has been around for 2,000 years. That has been the cultural foundation for Western civilization for that long as well. Now our interpretations of that foundation have changed, but the foundation itself hasn't. And what we are doing right now is literally trying to rip up the foundation and say, we don't really need a new foundation. Let's just allow preferences to rule. That's the case we're making. And the values being imparted on these devices are not like I've already stated, from most people. They are from a select handful of people that tend to be very radical in their beliefs on humanity, and a lot of times godless. So those are all very important points to consider. Now, a couple questions I would ask you. Would you let Sam Altman raise your child? I wouldn't. I would not. I would not trust that man around my children. Would you let him shape your laws or rewrite your religion? Because that's essentially what's taking place. Is an affront on civilization as we understand it. This is not me being against AI. I think AI is a powerful tool. But it's so powerful, in fact, that we need to be extremely mindful of who we allow to develop these tools and how they should be developed and what frameworks will be used to guide them. So I think the biggest part here is to really figure out what we can do to help shape the AI that is going to be radically changing our world forever.